Welcome to another episode of Tell Me More. On the podcast today, yours truly, Ryan Chandler is hosting. We also have Ashley Berryhill joining us, and of course, Dr. Wiles. In this episode, we talk about Engagement Month and all the great things happening, and then Dr. Wiles walks us through kind of a big picture of the church and who we're supposed to be, who we're called to be, and how that shapes discipleship, because if you've been tuning in, discipleship is going to be a big part of 2026. All right, well, welcome to the Tell Me More podcast. As you can see, we have a really different crew up here today. Not real different. Dr. Wiles is here, and he's typically always here. But I am not Katie Reed-Hodges, and this is not Luke Stair. I'm Ryan Chandler, a minister of young adults and young families, and this is
Ashley Berryhill, Global Engagement Minister.
Awesome.
Yep, so we're excited to be hosting today. This month at First Baptist Church of Arlington, I'm not sure if y'all are all aware. I'm aware. These two are aware. It is our Engagement Month,
Yay.
formerly known as Mission Month.
That's right.
Or Missions Month.
Yes.
Whatever.
Do you prefer the S or just mission on
it
mission?
Man, we could go
It
into that.
doesn't bother
but
your
let's
theology
just
too much?
Yeah,
That'll be the rest of the podcast, mission or missions.
Let's just don't go there.
Okay,
That's not
gotcha.
today's
Capital
podcast.
M, small caps.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
Yeah.
hard
What
to
do you
know.
prefer?
It is hard to know.
You got to get right on the captions, the closed captions, and somebody clicks on it in a little bit. No, this is Engagement Month, and it's that time of the year where every month is Engagement Month. Every month we're supposed to be doing
Especially
this.
here.
Yeah,
We're a sent people.
Yes, so that we live our lives every day sent.
Yes.
But this particular month is special. And so I'll just open the floor to both of y'all. Why is this month particularly special in the life of our church?
Wow. Ashley, go.
Okay. Well, it's the time of year that we get to focus on being a sent people and what that looks like throughout our congregation, not only individually, but also collectively. And we focus on the engagement offering, which used to be the world mission offering. And so now it's an engagement offering. And so what is, as we're giving together, what is this, our collective witness look like all over the world and in our community? And so it's just a time we get to highlight and celebrate and really concentrate all of our efforts towards that. So it's exciting, and yeah, we get to do that.
You love it too.
I do love it. I mean, it's a lot leading up to it, but it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, we have all the beautiful tradition of the flags. I think we've talked about that before. So there's just a lot of history, legacy, and also newness, emerging initiatives that are coming up that the Spirit is leading us in. And so I'm really excited about that. But we do have the Engagement Fair coming up this coming Sunday.
What happened this past Sunday?
This past Sunday was our local partners. And so we had
okay.
all of them come in so that people could understand where they can go serve and participate, but also who was receiving the engagement offering. Not all of our local partners are in the engagement offering, but some of them are. And so it was a way to really connect with how we can be of service in our community, because it matters to be in our community.
Who are all those local engagement partners? I can name a few.
Okay. So Christian Women's Job Corps.
Yes. Really good. I went to the dinner for that.
Yes.
So good to hear about that organization.
Mission Arlington. Texans on Mission.
Yeah.
I'm going around the room. And International Friends.
Yes. Perspectives was out there.
Perspectives was out there because that was more of a booth of, hey, let's get you in this class starting in January about how to participate in God's global mission and what does it look like for you to live on purpose as a sent person. And so it's something we really want to highlight for everybody who can come on Wednesday nights starting in January.
We're hosting that,
We
just so
are
everybody's
hosting
aware.
that.
That's right.
Our church is hosting Perspectives.
From 6 to 9, and on Wednesday nights, January 14th, for 15 weeks. It is a commitment, and there is a cost in it, but there are scholarships available as well. But then we also have Taste Project,
Oh, yeah, Taste Project was
Arlington
out there.
Arab Women's Center, Metroplex, a Women's Clinic, and Dash Network.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
awesome.
Yeah.
It is fun to see them out there. It's fun to see the flags. The whole church, gets a makeover during Engagement Month, which I really like. I like seeing the signs. Even the day when we all set out the flags together, Like we had a flag party. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a lot of fun. Like it just, the camaraderie, like this is who we are, just even as staff was doing that. Like that's really fun for me. I really like this time of the year. Dr. Wiles, what about you? What makes this month so special in the life of our church?
Well, it's interesting. When I first came here, I grew up as a Southern Baptist. And so historically, we did this a little differently. We had 3 offerings a year, mission offerings. We had one at Easter, and it was for home missions, named after Andy Armstrong. And then we had one in the fall. Every state convention had their own kind of state-focused mission offering.
We have Mary Hill Davis, right?
Right. I grew up in Alabama. We had Kathleen Mallory. Usually someone who was a woman who was very much associated with the mission efforts in that state. And then in December, we always collected the Lottie Moon Christmas offering for what we called foreign missions back in the day. And so you had these 3 times of the year where our churches that were Southern Baptist in those days had an opportunity to offer instruction to the church about these different mission efforts. But over time, that has all changed. And when before I came here, there was one of the churches that I pastored that actually started just doing this kind of year-round, just saying, here's the thing. Some people, the way their income is, if they want to actually give, it's hard for them to just give because normally the Lottie Moon Christmas offering was the biggest one. And so people would say, well, it's December. Sometimes it's hard for me to save up for the biggest offering at the end of the year. Could we kind of do this all along during the year? And so when I came here, this church had already done that. They'd already decided to no longer have those 3 particular times of the year. You still had those 3 offerings included in the World Mission Offering, but the World Mission Offering was all year long. So that was already established when I came. We've morphed it a little bit, modified it. We've changed the way we do things. When I first came, for the first probably 10 or 12 years I was here at least, the very first Sunday of this particular emphasis, we had the parade of flags. And so we actually called out the name of every nation, and different people in the church who were from those nations would kind of wear their native dress that day and bring their flag in.
Oh, I like that.
And we would just share just a brief word about that nation. And then the flag stayed in the sanctuary. They were kind of all around the walls, up on the platform. It's kind of how we used to do it. But over time, we felt like there might be a better way to do this, which I really do like how we do it now, having the flags all over the entire campus. So everywhere you go, there's this reminder that we're part of this global community. And I just love the opportunity to spend some time concentrated to inform our congregation, hopefully to inspire them and help them understand what we're invested in. And this is just a great time to do that. And so I love it. And it's a very, as I shared last week, y'all may not have heard the podcast last week, but it's a very personal story for me and Cindy just because of our call to missions when we were younger. And so, this season of the year for us is always meaningful. So
I love that. So we just did our local fair.
We did.
And what's upcoming this Sunday?
We have our engagement trip fair. So, going on trips. We have opportunities for most every age, and so we would love for people just to stop by. If you can't go on a trip, you need to pray for these teams, and you can also help by supporting those teams. And so there's different ways everybody can engage with that. So
I love that because when you think about it that way, whether they can go or not, we're part of the sending of these people.
That's right.
These are our people. This is our church. We get to be part of that. What are some of those opportunities coming up on trips? There's a lot of youth one. Y'all have worked really hard on the youth stuff.
We have worked really hard on just like a youth engagement pathway. And so the youth engagement pathway really starts with an all-access trip from 7th through 12th graders. Anybody can go. It's more close to home. So it's going to be Texas border. We're partnering with Texans on Mission there. And our Chi Alpha team is actually the ones leading that team, which is great. Emily Klophouse has done a fabulous job, and Aaron Toms. And so then we have the next level, which is an equipping level. We want to equip our high school students with how to engage as a disciple in their world. What does that look like? And so we're going to send them to Toronto, and they're going to be at a conference called Remix Toronto with other kids their age from diverse backgrounds, just learning how to be a holistic disciple of Jesus and live that out wherever they're at. They're going to have a lot of practice. They're going to get formed. It's going to be beautiful.
That's good. And Toronto needs prayers right now. Can we just say rest in peace? The Blue Jays. What happened?
I was thinking
Yeah,
hockey.
you thought I was
but-
being serious? No. Blue Jays lost.
I know I'm not joining you in that though because I don't like the Blue Jays. They're Ranger killers, kind of like your Astros. So I'm just happy.
Wait,
that
were
they're
you rooting for the Dodgers?
I can't stand the Dodgers, but the Blue Jays are in our league, and they're Ranger killers. So I can't pull for the Blue Jays. It
All
is what
right.
it is.
Okay. So you just had a bad World Series.
Yeah, I pulled for both of them to lose, but it is what it is.
So
good. We're going to Toronto.
Yeah,
Yep, all
juniors
right.
and seniors, though.
And I'm looking at all these trips right here in the
Oh,
Mission
good.
magazine. Look at all this.
That's right. That's right. If
look
you
at
got
all
a
that.
magazine, you can see them all at the back, one of the back
It's
pages.
unbelievable what all we're doing.
Correct. So
Montreal, you've been to Montreal.
I have.
No, yeah, you
I've
went
been.
to Montreal.
I did.
yes, he was in Montreal.
Yeah, I've been to Toronto.
Yeah.
But it's amazing this array,
Yeah.
Ashley.
And then we have Encounter week for juniors and seniors.
Check it
It's
out,
not
man.
Encounter Week Camp, but Encounter. And we're going to take them to Egypt,
Holy
actually.
cow.
And it's really to help them see the world where other parts of the world, what are the needs? What does it mean for them to live sent as a people? What are their responsibilities as they get older? Just trying to discern their calling in life through this. And so we're partnering with multiple Egyptian churches who are
Really
ready
cool.
for the world to come to them and to learn alongside them. So we're really excited about that.
Coptic
No.
churches? Okay.
Evangelical.
Evangelical. Okay. Very cool. Yeah, look at this list. Sierra Leone, Kerrville, Lebanon, the border, Japan, Montreal, Spain, Denver, and now Egypt. This is really good. This is good stuff. You should
amazing,
be
isn't
proud
it?
and excited
I love
about
it.
that.
Yeah. But I will say one other thing. We are partnering. Texans on Mission has currently a statewide initiative for a match grant of up to $150,000. They're concerned for the communities around Texas. Holidays are hard for families, but also with just the government shutdown as well. How can they help? And so we're partnering with them, and they have agreed that they will match up to $20,000
Wow.
for our efforts with Mission Arlington to provide food and supplies to them. And so they're also going to provide 2,000 hygiene kits as well to Mission
Wow.
Arlington. So we're grateful for that.
Man, it's a great partnership. Speaking
Yeah.
of Texas Baptists, Virginia Baptists, because we're a part of the Ascent Network, and those are the two primary Baptist networks that have helped launch Ascent, really. And the Virginia Baptists are gathered this week for their annual meeting, and I just talked to Cindy. She's there, and she's preaching tomorrow at their
So cool.
their
Big
convention
headliner.
sermon. Yeah, I'm excited for her. And but it's snowing there. It's like 28 degrees, and it's in a little town called Abingdon, Virginia. I say little. I've never been to Abingdon, Virginia. She flew into Bristol, Tennessee, and drove up to there. So it's kind of barely in Virginia,
Okay.
if it's that close to Tennessee. But it is just really cold. And but she's excited. She's there. Her booth for the Restore Hope team is a part of the Ascent movement group. So there are all these Ascent related entities that actually are at the Virginia Baptist meeting together. So she's
Gonna be
having a
so
really
good.
good time hanging out with all of those folks, and we're connected to them through the Ascent Network. So
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome.
Is there any way for us that we can see her, watch her?
Yeah, I think they're doing it. They're streaming it all.
Okay,
You
cool.
know, I was going to go with her, but we just had several things that we needed to get done here that I needed to be here for, so I wasn't able to go. And but we were it was kind of a fingers crossed yesterday because of the shutdown,
Yeah.
getting flights everywhere. And but she made it all the way, particularly just getting through Atlanta. Atlanta is a major hub, and for the Southeast. And so I think yesterday they've had I forgot how many thousands of flights canceled out of the Atlanta airport, but she did okay, and she's doing really well. So I told her we'd be praying for her. So proud of her.
She's a headliner, and you're a headliner.
Well,
with the BGCT.
This
Yes, he
coming
is.
this coming week, the BGCT meeting is in Abilene, and I'm preaching Sunday night.
Yeah.
They've adopted this whole commitment to the Great Commandment, the Great Commission. So they've asked me to launch it all with a message on the Great Commandment about loving God. And they asked me, would you be willing to preach a sermon from Psalm 1? And so I had to really spend a lot of time thinking about that, praying about it. But somehow or another, I've mustered up enough
You
resources.
had enough content? Good,
I'm
all
gonna-
right.
I'm going to figure out something to say about Psalm 1. And but I'm looking
awesome.
forward to that. And that's our primary partner. in terms of our investment in state missions, and Ryan, you serve in Texas Baptist Life, and we have a number of staff members that are connected. It's kind of our home. Yep. Really, it's our missional home, it's our relational home. I love Texas Baptist. And of course, Dr. Wade, our pastor emeritus, used to be the executive director of Texas Baptist. So we're very much a part of who Texas Baptists are. So
I love going to annual meeting. It's like a big family reunion.
It is.
You see lots of good people, just some of the best out there. It's fun to be at. And Michael Glenn's leading worship for it too.
That's right.
So we've got Dr. Wiles preaching Sunday night, and then Monday morning, Michael Glenn and 317 Collective are leading worship.
Go, Michael.
And there's a lot of staff going. I told Dr. Wiles, like, you got an entourage. We're going to be standing up and cheering and yelling. And, amen.
We're painting signs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think it'd be great. And
I want you to go off script. That's what I want him to do. I want him to get so pumped up, he just closes his notes and steps away from the pulpit. It's like, oh, here we go. You'll get me fired up if you do that. I'll get straight up fired up.
We'll see what happens. But Ryan is the chair of the...
I'm the chair of the Committee on Nominations for Boards of Affiliated Ministries. Okay, and I'm rolling off, and Tanner Watson is rolling onto that committee this year.
Go, Tanner.
Yeah, and David Butts is on the... memorials? Is that what it is?
I think so.
Yeah, the committee for memorials. So David's on that one. So we're heavily invested in.
We have church
Texas
members
Baptist
that have
life.
served on various boards for the BGCT. So it is our home. And it was interesting. Sunday morning when we voted on the messengers, we're sending a whole lot of people to Abilene. And I'm grateful for it. So we'll see what happens. But meanwhile, we had church Sunday morning. We did. What a great day in worship. To me, the music yesterday, just the whole sense of the presence of God. And what I loved about Sunday to me was just the complexion of all these different people that now make First Baptist who we really are. It's just awesome. Last Sunday, a week ago, to have the way we celebrated communion together with Pastor Raymond and Sergio.
I love that. Those
two men, great pastors and just ministers. And then yesterday, to hear from the Peñas and how God is using them and this Dash connection and asylum seekers, the work that you're very much a part of, Ashley. Think about Lorenzo, who spent all these years in ministry, works for the BGCT, and now he and his wife serving together in somewhat of a unique way. It was very... it was very inspiring to me and then to see Lorenzo even get choked up when he's trying to talk about supporting his wife in something she feels called to. And it was just, and of course years ago we had this church in Korea. They were, they kind of view it as somewhat of an opportunity and a little bit of a risk, because they have decided that they would like for some of their students to come to the U.S. to receive their education at an institution in the United States of America. But they're careful about their spiritual well-being, and so they sent some leaders over, and along with the students years ago, trying to find a church that they felt like could be a home for them, that wouldn't treat them as some type of a tokenism, if you will, and kind of just treat them differently. They wanted them to be in the warp and woof of a church and serve. They're required to learn how to serve. And Katie Hodges is the one who kind of welcomed them into the church and just basically told them, we'll just let you be here. We're not going to necessarily make special arrangements for you. You got to find your way here, but we would love to host you and let you become a part of our family. And so they have just decided this is the home. And so, as y'all know, every year some of them graduate and return home. All the young men go back home and serve in the military. They have to have a year that they have to give, and when they graduate from high school, and then they all go home. Most of them go home in the summer, and then in the fall, freshmen show up, and then the ones that are growing all the way through school. And they've just found a home, and they're very committed in their faith. And so one of the things that they all are supposed to do, they're supposed to be involved somehow in a music ministry in their church. And so every one of them has some type of musical training or commitment, and which I find to be very interesting, but it's just the way their church wants to teach them how to worship God. And so they have just joined our worship ministry, obviously. And so Sunday morning to hear them and see the joy in their lives. And I was watching where I was sitting Sunday morning in the first service, and a couple of the girls were singing about, the Good Shepherd, and they just had tears just streaming down their faces. It was so genuine, so sweet, and the fact that they're doing that in our language.
Yes, yes.
They've worked really hard to try to sing it in English because they believe it connects better with us. They can sing it off the hat in Korean. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, but they want us to know this is how important this is. That this message is so important. They're learning another language so they can communicate it even more fervently.
And it was powerful.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness!
it was.
It hit us because it was in English.
Yeah, I was just so humbled by it. I sat there and I felt so unworthy. I just thought, if I were to go to Korea, would I, you know what I mean? Or pick somewhere, wherever, would I make it such a commitment that I thought, okay, I'm going to work really hard to do this in your language so that it really, it shows you my commitment, And of course, I knew I was going to talk about Pentecost that morning and how God had just used all these languages. I mean, the whole thing just was so powerful to me. And you can work hard, try to plan things, but you can't really orchestrate those moments. It's just the Spirit of God taking our best and somehow taking it to a whole nother level. And that's really what happened Sunday. I was just
I love it.
Powerful.
You preached on Acts chapter 2, verses 42 through 47.
That's right. I love that text.
It's such a powerful text to really set the context of what that early church was like. Like, these are the things happening in the life of this community. And it has it's shaped, hopefully it's shaping all churches' ecclesiology on who we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be. It should. This is what we're about.
Right.
And but you didn't quite start there. You took a big picture step to kick off with. So,
I've been saving that for a while because I've been trying to decide when did I want to do it. Just been praying about it, and it's interesting as you grow and mature in your studies. I've never been much of a writer. I'm not. I just don't think I'm a very good writer. I think everybody has different gifts, and I think I'm more of an oral communicator. But I'm not really a scholar. I'm just more of I'm a student as much as anything. And but I love to communicate with people, and I like, and it's very incarnational to me. That's one of the reasons that I've been unwilling to do kind of us having other sites as a church, like us having a site in South Arlington or a site in Mansfield. For me personally, theologically, ecclesiologically, that just doesn't fit me. I'm just too incarnational for that. I want to be with the people that I'm supposed to be shepherding, and not just on a screen, if that makes sense. Even though I realize some people, it's funny on Sunday morning when I'm preaching, some of them are just sitting right there and they're actually looking at the screen. They're not looking at me, but they know I'm there. And even the ministry that we have online, so much of it is connected. It's relational. It's not just this random thing. That's a whole nother conversation. But there's just something about thinking through this. So I've been praying and thinking about how do I communicate what I've been learning. Well, over time, my theology has been shaped. My understanding of the church has been shaped by numerous voices. Both of y'all, I think, were in the preaching class that I started a few weeks ago, and I kind of brought to y'all all of my big books. I have the reading chair in my study, and I have all of my kind of trusted mentors are there in the room with me. And so I think about like George Eldon Ladd, who years ago was a professor at Fuller in California, and when I was coming along, when I was much younger. I grew up in a very conservative church, very, 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 did I say very? Very conservative church. We were characterized by kind of a landmark movement that took place kind of in the Deep South.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
as a reaction against the churches of Christ.
The Trail of Blood, going back to John the Baptist.
Yes, that's what I grew up in.
Wow, okay.
And so
I've never met. I've never met anybody that's come from the Landmarkets Baptist.
That's where I came from.
Okay.
Yes, my home church. When I left to go to seminary, we had an organization in our church. We had the WMU, but we also had the Brotherhood, they were called. And growing up in Alabama, you want to be careful with that because they didn't wear white robes. I want you to understand they were the men who oversaw RAs, the Royal Ambassador Program, and so they were the kind of the men who helped shepherd the boys in the church into spiritual maturity. So we would have brotherhood meetings, and occasionally the teenage boys would be invited to come and see all the men in our church. Most every man in the church was in it for the most part. And our fellowship hall was in the basement, so they would have these meetings in the basement. So when I was getting ready to go to seminary, they had a brotherhood meeting where they called me in, and they had instructions for me. And one of those was they gave me my copy of The Trail of Blood by J.N. Darby, which for those who don't know what that is, it's a history of Christianity.
I've never heard of this.
It's a history of Christianity that traces the story of Christianity through the martyrs of the church.
Okay.
And basically the view is that we as Baptists, we can be traced all the way back to Jesus, Jerusalem, and John the Baptist.
We are the oldest denomination.
Yes.
We're essentially, it is legit what it means.
Yes.
We are the original OG
Correct.
denomination of Christianity.
Exactly.
It's actually Baptist.
Leave it to the Baptists.
And not just that, we're the only
we're the only ones.
True church. And so, not only that,
that's why I said I've never met one of these Baptists.
we had a legendary pastor, Dr. Tully, went to Southern Seminary, and he was dead before I was born. But he, during the 40s and 50s at our church, he was this legendary preacher teacher. Dr. Tully was a brilliant man. And that was our church in its heyday, church I grew up in its heyday. When I was going to church as a kid, we probably ran about 300, but they were larger back in the 50s and 40s, 50s, whatever. And Dr. Tully was in his heyday. Well, he wrote these pamphlets on like believers' baptism. The Baptists are the only true church, religious liberty. So we had these little pamphlets, and I have them all in my office upstairs. You can look at them. So when I got ready to go, the Brotherhood called me in, and my church, we had a handful of foundational families in the church. They weren't necessarily there when the church was founded, but they were kind of core to the team and the leaders. And my dad and his brother were two of those men, my Uncle Leonard and my dad. It's kind of interesting. My daddy and his brother married my mom and her sister. So you can do that where we're from. Kind of keeps all the money in the family. But anyway, but we had two men named Graves, Ed Graves and his brother. And so those, Champion Graves was his name. I loved that name, Champion. But anyway, so one of the Mr. Graveses or one of the Mr. Wileses was usually the head of the Brotherhood. Okay, those two men. And what's fascinating is those four men, families, there's probably, 10 or 12 of us descendants that are all out in ministry. So it's kind of another story. But regardless, they called me in. Uncle Leonard was in charge in those days. So when they brought me in front of the Brotherhood to pray over me and all that, and then they gave me my materials. Wow. So they gave me Dr. Tully's pamphlets, and they gave me J.N. Darby's pamphlet, The Trail of Blood. And they said, now, you go to seminary and you get your certificate, go whatever it is you got to get, but don't let them teach you anything. These men, I'll never forget Uncle Leonard, all those men all been my Sunday school teachers, my RA leader, they were the men that shaped me. And he said, these men have taught you everything you need to know about the Bible. And Dr. Tully, Dr. Tully's theology is what has shaped you. It's what shaped this church. And here it is in writing. And you take this with you, and you let everything else be viewed through the lenses of what you know to be true. And I was like, okay. So I was a dispensationalist to the core. The idea that God had created this world, and the world is marching now through these dispensations of time. And we're in the church age, which is the great parenthesis, because God's really engaged with Israel, not the church. But Israel rejected Jesus, so he's going to have to deal with the church for a while. But eventually he's going to rapture the church out and kind of get back to the real business of what this thing's all about. And that is the shaping of Israel and the restoration of the land and the rebuilding of the temple and the tribulation and all that. And so anyway...
So we're I
had that was my only frame of reference. I had never been to I'd been to a couple. I was in college. I went to hear, some navigators, and but my dad, man, it was always, so what do they believe about the second coming? That was, he would start asking these landmark questions. What do they believe about this? What do they believe about the church? The only way my dad departed was one of the tenets of landmarkism is closed communion. So you can only take the Lord's Supper if you're a member of that particular church. My daddy never believed that. But, there were no women that were allowed to do anything. As a matter of fact, if a woman was on the platform, she could sing. But if she was going to address the congregation, she had to stand to the side of the pulpit. There was always a microphone on the side of the pulpit. She couldn't actually stand behind the pulpit. And we didn't believe in alien immersion. You had to be baptized by a Baptist. We were the only true church. So I get to seminary, Southwestern Seminary, and I'm ready. And all of a sudden, I start meeting these incredible scholars and theologians, none of whom are dispensationalists. Not a single one. And Southwestern is the largest seminary in the world then.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
I'm so interested in that because I know we got to get to the sermon eventually, but was there some kind of deconstruction that happened while you were in seminary that was a healthy kind of deconstruction?
That's a great question.
Yeah, at first it was a little shocking because one of my professors, once he found out, he knew a lot of us came from that tradition.
Okay.
And so he would basically begin his conversations with us, chiding us, saying things like, now, some of you believe this, and let me just show you why that is just not the right way to view the scripture. Well, first time I heard that, I thought, well, I'll tell you right now, I don't know you, but I know Dr. Tully, not really, I didn't know him, but I knew him through my dad, and you are no Dr. Tully, you know what I mean? But where the challenge came was with some of my professors, just challenged me to read the Bible and kind of release the system.
Yeah.
And just let the Bible begin to shape my thinking. Well, that's really when it started to change for me. And so over time, I have invited more of those scholars in to allow me to rethink what I really believe about all this. And that's exactly what's happened to me. And so I'm no longer a dispensationalist. I still have respect for that view. I understand where it came from. And I can see why it arose. It's a very Western, kind of almost an Americanized version of this Scottish perspective on Scottish realism. But regardless, I rejected that. I still read a couple of those scholars just because I want to hear what they have to say about various things. But my view's been changed. So consequently, a sermon like I preached Sunday morning is the result of all of that.
Wow.
Of my understanding of the merging together of heaven and earth and the creation by God, where he brought both heaven and earth together, even though we've somewhat separated them. There is obviously a separation. I know that. But the degree that we've separated it, we're almost Platonists, to where there's this other world that's so disconnected from us. And it's kind of ethereal. It's, it's spiritual. We don't quite know what it is. And people must just be floating around somewhere in the pleroma, and that's just not the picture the scripture really paints.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of been holding on to this for a while. I've been influenced, like I said, George Eldon Ladd is one of the folks that truly influenced me. N.T. Wright, obviously, I think y'all know that. But even Luther and Calvin and some of the ways that they looked at theology, I would say this. Another thing that's happened to me over time is you learn that these theologians are shaped by the era in which they live, because the era in which you live is asking different questions.
Yes.
And so if you allow, as much as I appreciate the Protestant Reformation, and I'm grateful for it, I'm a Protestant, at the Reformation, the questions were very different than they are today. And so even the Protestant reformers, we've got to let them live and breathe in the era they lived in. That doesn't mean I have to interpret all Scripture through the lenses they did. Because their understanding of justification and salvation was so rooted in anti-Catholicism. They tend to interpret the book of Romans completely in light of that, when it just might be the book of Romans has a broader picture than that, if you will, kind of a broader context. But again, that's another conversation. But my point is, so I felt like Sunday, what I wanted to do was just bring all that to the church as best I could in a consolidated way. I don't know that I pulled it off because there's just so much that I want to say because you don't have enough time. so that we understand the church actually exists in a context. You know, it didn't just happen. It didn't just materialize out of nowhere as if, oh my goodness, what, the church? Is that really where we are now? Well, no, it's Jesus said, I'm going to build my church. And when the Spirit of God is given at Pentecost of all times, which, you know, you think about sometimes by the first century, the Jews were even celebrating the giving of the law at Pentecost. So there's all this imagery, the Exodus imagery at the Passover with Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection, and now the imagery of the giving of the law, and these people from all over the world, they're in Jerusalem at the same time, and the Spirit of God is given in that moment, almost as if this, to say to us, this is the new covenant now, and it's a reversal of the curse. And Jesus has a global claim, and so everybody's going to hear this in their own language to show the universal scope of this gospel. And then now we've got the mandate to kind of go repeat that all over the world, and it fits to me in the story of creation, and then the children, the chaos that comes from the fall, and the whole story of the children of Israel, which I had to almost skip over yesterday because I didn't have time. Which I hate to do that, because this is a story. It's not just a theology. It's a story, you know, and it's woven in history.
Yes.
And then ultimately the incarnation, you know, taking its place appropriately, and then the ascension, and then Pentecost, and now the mission of the church, which will lead to the eschaton. Jesus said this gospel will be preached to all the nations, then the end will come. So I just wanted to put all that on the table Sunday morning, and have to come back and unpack it somehow over this next year, which is what I intend to do in 2026.
Yeah.
Great.
But I just wanted to get it in front of everybody, because I just feel like it's important. Not only that, because I think one of the challenges we have as Protestants, you know, when you look at the church, I'm kind of doing all the talking without you asking.
No, this is good.
Great.
But one of the challenges is Roman Catholics have a high ecclesiology. I mean, the church is the bride of Christ. And the pastor of the church is the vicar of Christ. He is Christ's presence on earth. Our new Pope, I've been watching some videos of Leo in some of the places he's been going. Like yesterday, one of my favorite churches in Rome is St. John Lateran, San Giovanni in Laterano. You know, it's this
pretty good.
It's the oldest official church in Rome, because when Constantine comes into Rome, the guards of the Caesar at that time, they were Maxentius. They were at the Lateran Hill. The Lateran family had given them these barracks, and so Constantine he kills Maxentius out on the Milvian Bridge, cuts his head off. And he's afraid people are not gonna know that he won, and so he parades into Rome with Maxentius's head with him on his horse to show everybody this guy's dead. I'm in charge. And you know, all the views back in those days, was a Caesar a god? Was so what do you do? Well, then he finds out that the bodyguards all live on the Lateran Hill. Well, he goes up there and just kills them all. You know, to just say, this era is over.
Done.
And then he gives that hill to the church,
Wow.
the Lateran Hill, and he says, all right, we're going to put the first church here, official. Now, there were churches already in Rome, we know that, but I mean, the first official recognized church. And it was originally called the Church of Christ, because it was kind of the mother church, if you will, of Christendom. And so, but over time, you get to the 8th, 9th, 10th centuries, and there's this desire to name things in honor of all the saints. So you've got Peter and Paul already in Rome, because you got churches named for them. So I felt like that you need to have one for John and John the Baptist. So St. John on the Lateran Hill, if you will, is named for St. John and John the Baptist. I love that church. It's beautiful. Well, yesterday on November the 9th is when it was consecrated originally. Pope Sylvester, the pastor of the church at Rome, and he had this vision of Christ on November the 9th. It's kind of a famous story. So Leo was there yesterday to commemorate the consecration of that church, and that's actually Leo's church. People misunderstand that. They think St. Peter's the church of the Pope. It's not St. John, because it's the oldest. So St. John is actually the Pope's church. There's a chair at the very front of the church that he has to sit in to actually officially become Pope. But what I thought was interesting yesterday was when he came in and he was being greeted just the way they all greeted him.
Yeah.
You know, they're kissing his ring. They're bowing in front of him, paying him this great honor. Well, because they believe the church is the bride of Christ on earth right now, and he's the vicar of Christ. So it's almost as if Jesus was there, if that makes sense. Their view of the church is in charge. The church is the authority in your life. The church dispenses the grace of God. You know, the sacraments are given to the church. And so that's how you don't just go get Jesus on your own. You know, Cyprian said you can't have God for your father and not have the church as your mother and be a Christian. That's impossible. Well, that's an incredibly high view of the church. Well, Protestants rebelled against that, and the mistake that we've made sometimes going way the other way, as if the church doesn't matter.
Yes.
You know, okay, so somehow I want to help us reclaim the beauty of the church, you know, and was a part of my attempt yesterday. It's the global community. It really is God's instrument in this era, and it's leading us toward the end of time. You know, this is the bride of Christ.
And you have to do that, I think, with a congregation today, especially a Protestant congregation in the United States today, because if you just preach Acts 2, 42 through 47 and just said, let's work through some of the discipleship things that are in this passage, it can very quickly just turn into philanthropy.
Right. Exactly.
Like we just do good things. And we do good things because we know this guy named Jesus, and he did some pretty good things, and we're inspired by that guy, Jesus. And so we're going to learn some good morals and ethics from him and try to do those in our daily life.
That's right.
I venture to say that's how a lot of Protestant people view what they're doing. And so I understand I think I understand what you're doing. You're trying to set up this narrative, this massive global universal narrative that we're swept up in. Correct. Not just swept up in. The dispensational thing makes it sound like we're a blip on the map.
Exactly.
Like we're in almost this accident that we have to
get us out of the way eventually.
Yeah, get us out of the way.
Get back to the real story.
Yeah, this is different. We are the story.
We are the real story.
We're what God's doing in the world.
Right.
And that is hard for Protestants to understand. Really, really hard.
And so, to me, I wanted to capture that because when I think about 2026, we're going to be focused on transformation, on the Jesus way, intentional discipleship. Well, why does that matter? If all we're doing is, like you just said, we're just kind of philanthropists. Yeah. You don't really have to be changed on the inside that much.
No.
All you just need to have some behaviors, and you're good. But that's not what we are. You know, that's almost a byproduct. Yeah. You know, if we're really going to be this global community, this body of Christ, well, then we've got to be disciples. We've got to be transformed. We've got to be changed. And we've got to see that we're a part of something incredibly magnificent that is actually leading to the pinnacle, the actual return of our Lord. And so it was kind of firing one over the bow Sunday. So if you're paying attention, you know, hopefully we'll see. I had numerous comments about it because, you know, particularly the ascension, you know, that's one of those things, a little mystery to us. What does that really mean? Why did Jesus, and where did he go? You know, because now you and I, our cosmology is we know that if you just keep going up, you know, from Jerusalem, where do you end up? You know what I mean?
It's, Jesus just passes Jupiter. Just keeps floating up in LA.
Where do you? I mean, if it's just if your cosmology is just binary, you know, it's kind of, you know, here and there. Well, where's there? And so Jesus kind of goes into a whole nother dimension that's actually much closer than we realize.
Yeah.
You know, he ascended into heaven. Okay, he did, but heaven actually was connected to us through him, and then he sends his Spirit, and so the church was not launched at the resurrection. You know, the victory was won at the resurrection. The church is launched when Jesus sends his Spirit. It's still focused on the person of Jesus, and because they're going to proclaim Jesus, and the Holy Spirit glorifies Jesus, points us to Jesus. That's what the Bible says in John. And so it's the Jesus movement. That's what this is. And he's our king, and he is crowned, and he ascended into glory with his body. Yeah. With his with his resurrected body. Yes. And so now this connection between heaven and earth is so official and so real that the resurrected Jesus is now ruling it all from heaven, which is awesome. You know? So
the church is launched there. That's an interesting point because people wonder that a lot sometimes. Like, is church founded here?
When
was the
was
church
it?
founded here?
Exactly.
So some people get scared if you say what happens at Pentecost, then church is founded on Peter. And
That's right.
It's just silly. Because in our Discovery Bible study that we did Wednesday night, we're trying to get small groups up in our church, everybody. December 7th, we have an interest meeting at 9:45 a.m.
December 7th.
December 7th, Fellowship Hall, 9:45.
I thought it was
Please be there.
October. I thought it was October.
Yeah, my bad. I said it so
sorry.
wrong. I said it so wrong. And December 7th. Anyway, I have a group of leaders who've been doing Discovery Bible Study, and we're just doing not the sermon you preached, but the text you preached. And we just follow that. And we did Acts 1 through 10 right there. And we looked at that. And the way you do Discovery Bible Study is just kind of observation and then exploration and then application. Just real simple. What do you observe? Okay, what do you think that means? What do you think that means for our life and who we're supposed to be? It's so easy. You can do it with anybody. I love it. But that was one of the things we observed. Why does Jesus tell them to wait? It's because they're the same old disciples. They still don't get it.
That's right.
No.
He says, don't y'all go do anything
yet.
until the Spirit comes
That's
on
exactly
you,
right. Wait.
because you still don't know
That's right.
who I am and what this is. And then he disappears, and they're all just standing there like, well, what now? And the angel has to say, get on, go do what he told you to. And it's when the Spirit comes that suddenly they are transformed and they start being the church.
That's right.
Yeah.
The spirit of transformation.
Yeah.
And that's key.
That's
It's
important
awesome.
for missions,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Anyway,
Wow, that was awesome.
this is good. I'm excited about our future. I'm excited about where we're headed. 2026 is going to be such a good year, especially as we talk about just,
pretty
more
stoked
of
about
those discipleship things. And Engagement Month has been great. Excited to see all these plans. If you don't have your magazine, go get it. If you haven't walked around and seen all the stuff in the church, go do it. Go down to the children's area. Look at what they're doing down there. Bring your quarters. And there's a cool game or some
Vending machine.
So
machine
fun.
you can do.
Yes.
It's so
So
good.
awesome.
So lots of good things are happening in the life of our church. We want you to get plugged in. Ashley, thank you for
Yeah.
being here and talking
Appreciate
with
it.
us about everything going on. Dr. Wiles, of course, thank you for your faithfulness.
Awesome.
And the way you approach the pulpit every single Sunday. Cindy's preaching pretty soon, right?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Well, in 2 weeks,
And
though,
this
here.
is preaching here in 2 weeks.
She's preaching
Sorry.
here in 2
I'm sorry,
weeks.
Yeah,
That's
preaching
right.
tomorrow, and this should be here November 23rd, right? No,
Yeah,
I think
23rd.
that's right. She's preaching here.
Well, before we close, what does it look like for you and Cindy to talk about her preaching? I know how you do it for me. You know what I mean? I know what you do. I know what this looks like. What does it look like between you and Cindy to prep on
I'm finally
sermons?
going to get to return the favor. She's been talking about my preaching for 40 years. So we're about to find out.
That's
It's going
so
to be a
good.
great day in the life of our church. It
Way to go.
really is.
Yeah, it's going to be good. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in to Tell Me More.
Thanks for listening to the Tell Me More podcast today. You can subscribe to this podcast on your app of choice, or you can visit us at fbca.org to find out more information about the podcast and our church. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.